When you come to America, you're a guest, and you have to behave like a guest. Like when I go to someone's house and I'm a guest, then I will do everything I can to keep things clean in education, in jobs, creating a family, all of those kind of things. Then you have to think about, okay, if I get all of those things from America, then I have to give something back. Whatsoever, give something back to after-school programs, Special Olympics, or whatever it is. Make this country a better.
Imagine being married to an immigrant while leading a crusade against immigrant families. Arnold Schwarzenegger pointed out this jaw-dropping irony on live TV, calling out Trump like never before. But here's the kicker. Arnold didn't stop at that. He said something about Melania that had Trump reportedly fuming behind the scenes. Curious? Stick around, because what Arnold revealed created memes, outrage, and laughter all over the internet. Before we continue, if you appreciate this content, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It's free, and it helps our channel grow. Thank you. Now, back to the video. Arnold Schwarzenegger's criticism of Donald Trump wasn't the loud, in-your-face kind of attack you'd expect. In fact, it was as cool and composed as Arnold himself. That's what made it sting even more. During a live TV appearance, Arnold didn't shout or wave his fists. He simply used facts, irony, and a dose of his immigrant experience to lay out the contradictions in Trump's policies and personal life. And when an action hero famous for one-liners delivers a blow without raising his voice, you know it's a hit.
I just think the world of the great kind of a history that we have with immigrants in America. But the key thing also is at the same time that we got to do things legal. The important thing is when you become an immigrant to think about, okay, I go to America because I want to use America for the great opportunities that America has. That is the important thing, you know? So you got to do things legal. And those people that are doing illegal things in America and that are foreigners, they are not smart.
Here's the setup. Arnold isn't just any Hollywood star or political figure. Before becoming a movie legend or the governor of California, he was a young immigrant from Austria with little more than a dream and a thick accent. He worked his way to success in a country that prides itself on being built by immigrants. And that's exactly why his words on Trump's immigration hypocrisy carried so much weight. Arnold stood as living proof of the American dream, while Trump's rhetoric often painted immigrants as criminals, freeloaders, or a problem that needed to be solved, not celebrated. And this is where it gets uncomfortable for Trump. We're talking about a man who built his political brand on tough talk about border walls and travel bans. The same man who pushed policies separating immigrant families at the border and called certain immigrant-heavy nations as whole countries. Yet here's the irony. Trump's own wife, Melania, is herself an immigrant. She was born in Slovenia and came to the US on a visa program designed for people with extraordinary ability in their field. Though Melania later became a US citizen, questions about how she initially qualified for her visa have raised eyebrows over the years. Arnold zeroed right in on this hypocrisy in a way that wasn't just pointed, it was calculated.
As an immigrant to this country, I would like to say a few words to my fellow Americans. President Trump sought to overturn the results of an election, and of a fair election. President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. The good thing is that he soon will be as irrelevant as an old tweet. Very aware of Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. It was a night of rampage against the Jews carried out in 1938 by the Nazi equivalent of the Proud Boys.
On live TV, Arnold calmly highlighted a truth that Trump seemed desperate to ignore. With his unmistakable Austrian accent, Arnold remarked, "It's fascinating, isn't it? The man who shouts about immigrants and building walls happens to share his home with one." He didn't have to shout or crack jokes to make his point clear. The irony spoke for itself. And while the audience certainly noticed the jab, reports suggest Trump noticed it even more. Sources close to the former president claimed he was furious and unglued after watching Arnold's remarks. Imagine that, a sitting president rattled by words as cool as a cucumber. Arnold didn't stop at Melania. He also took a broader swipe at Trump's leadership style, calling it divisive and disconnected. During the same conversation, Arnold pointed out that true leadership means lifting everyone up, including immigrants, and fostering unity instead of division. Leadership is about building bridges, not walls, he added, which was as much a lesson as it was a direct rebuke of Trump's infamous border wall project. And that wall, let's not forget, barely got built and sparked outrage for its environmental and social impact setbacks while failing to deliver on Trump's promise of Mexico footing the bill. It was yet another broken promise in a presidency full of stumbles. But hearing it called out by someone like Arnold gave it a whole new level of visibility. Arnold's critique struck such a nerve because it wasn't just empty talk. He himself had faced ridicule early in his career for being an immigrant. Accents weren't exactly embraced in 1970s Hollywood, and yet Arnold turned what others saw as a weakness into one of his defining traits. He understood better than most how immigrant contributions shaped industries across America, from tech to entertainment to agriculture. So when he highlighted Trump's attacks on immigrant families, like the 2018 policy that separated children from their parents at the border, he wasn't just pointing out hypocrisies. He was speaking from personal and observed experience. Of course, the moment that set the internet ablaze was his specific mention of Melania. Once the clip hit social media, it was everywhere. Feeds, timelines, stories, memes started popping up overnight. One meme had Melania photoshopped holding a "Keep Families Together" sign in front of Trump Tower. Another showed Arnold in the Terminator saying, "I'll be back," with receipts, beside a screenshot of Melania's immigration story. People weren't just laughing, they were sharing, poking fun, and keeping the conversation alive. It's not often you see an immigrant action star push a controversial president into a corner on live TV, but when it happens, you can bet the internet will run with it. And while the viral moment was fun, it also highlighted something deeper: the power of irony in exposing contradiction. Then there was Jamie Foxx, who didn't just roast Trump, he became Trump with an impersonation so sharp it practically left scorch marks. Fox's timing was perfect, his exaggerated drawl made phrases like, "Nobody knows more about immigrants than me, okay? My wife? I hired her," both hilarious and a little too close for comfort. He played up the absurdity of the situation, pretending to praise himself for bringing immigrants into the country the classy way through marriage. The bit wasn't just funny, it highlighted how feeble Trump's arguments could sound when placed side by side with reality. Watching Fox, you could almost picture Trump trying to explain himself, nervously backpedaling as the crowd leaned in closer. What made these satirical takes so effective was how skillfully they spotlighted the gap between Trump's carefully crafted image and the reality of his actions. The strongman rhetoric that defined his campaign was flipped on its head, exposing the scattered contradictions beneath. Taco Man wasn't just a joke, it turned Trump's serious, aggressive tone into something cartoonish and silly. And Fox's impersonation, it completely dismantled the authority Trump tried so hard to project. Both comedians emphasized how his policies and personal choices didn't align, showing the audience not just where Trump had stumbled, but how ridiculous those stumbles looked from the outside. Meanwhile, the internet was having its own field day. Right after Arnold's comment landed on social media, memes and videos started flooding in. A popular one showed Arnold in his iconic Terminator role, photoshopped pointing at a wall with the words, "Tell me again who built this," alongside an image of Melania in her early modeling days. Another had Melania awkwardly standing beside Trump at a rally with a caption that read, "When your husband leaves work to deport your cousins." The sheer volume of jokes was overwhelming, with Reddit threads, Instagram posts, and Twitter roasting sessions all piling on. It wasn't just Arnold throwing shade anymore, it was the entire internet turning Trump's contradictions into a full comedy series. But the real kicker came when Melania herself unintentionally fueled the fire. In one of her rare interviews, she talked about her independence and how she didn't always agree with her husband's opinions. She said, "I have my own voice," which quickly became meme material. People juxtaposed clips of her statement with side-by-side images of immigrant families being detained under Trump's policies. One viral tweet simply wrote, "Girl, no you don't," and racked up hundreds of thousands of likes overnight. For many, this moment added a whole new layer to the irony Arnold had called out. It wasn't just about Trump contradicting himself, it was about the distance between his public actions and even those closest to him. By this point, Trump's image was no longer something he fully controlled. Late night jokes, viral memes, and Fox's impersonations had taken the reins, turning his contradictions into a spectacle he couldn't outrun. The power of humor here wasn't just in making people laugh, it made Trump's hypocrisy impossible to ignore. Every punchline, every meme, every satirical sketch chipped away at the persona he had spent so much time building. Instead of looking strong or consistent, he came off as fumbling and insecure, incapable of keeping his own story straight. What started as Arnold's calm, calculated critique had snowballed into a cultural moment far bigger than anyone could have expected. The comedy didn't just amplify Arnold's point, it cemented it, framing Trump's hypocrisy as both undeniable and unforgettable. And as much as Trump may have wanted to brush it off or spin it, he couldn't escape the laughter. The internet and late-night TV weren't just laughing at him, they were reshaping how people saw him. It's one thing to lose control of the political narrative, but when you become the butt of the joke, that's a different level of chaos entirely. Arnold may have fired the first shot, but now the comedians and the memes were making sure it stuck. Even the loudest voices can't silence the weight of their own contradictions. Arnold didn't just expose hypocrisy, he reminded everyone that no amount of spin can erase the truth. Trump's tough guy image shattered when faced with the simplest irony, turning his immigrant rhetoric into a global punchline. Humor made it stick. The late night jokes, memes, and impersonations didn't just mock, they held him accountable in a way headlines couldn't. And, like Arnold's now viral moment, the internet never forgets. Leaders chasing power might want to remember this. It's not just policies people remember, it's the contradictions that keep them laughing.